Now, the ongoing debate over alternative fuels has been renewed recently, what with the price of oil rising almost daily. There's now a growing demand for cleaner, more environmentally friendly options.
The price of palm oil made in Malaysia and Indonesia has risen as people search for ways to replace oil, but not everyone's convinced by the crop's environmental credentials. Divya Gopalan reports.
This rainforest has been cleared to save the environment. The area will eventually look like this, a palm plantation. The fruit grown is being touted as a major weapon in the fight against climate change.
If all the cars in Kuala Lumpur drives on biofuel, 100% blend, 100% B100, the city will smell like chocolate, cocoa flavor. So there's no emission of poisonous gas or into the environment. You know, it is clean, very clean.
Golden Hope is a key player in Malaysia's palm oil industry. It's merging with its rivals to become the world's largest palm oil producer and cash in on soaring demand for the commodity. The price of palm oil has jumped 40% in the past year, partly because of demand for cleaner fuel from Europe. Together, Indonesia and Malaysia are the world's top two palm oil exporters. The two countries are also home to some of the world's last rainforests. Malaysia stresses it'll only plant new palms on forest that's already been logged. Indonesia plans to add 500,000 hectares of plantation every year, specifically for biofuel. This worries the United Nations. The organization has labeled the use of edible oils for fuel as a crime against humanity, increasing the risk of global hunger. And it's concerned about the future of rainforests.
What strikes you most in plantations like these is the stillness. That's because palm oil trees are a native of West Africa, and few animals and plants from this part of the world can live in harmony with these trees. So what you get are mainly rats and snakes.
And these are some of the most visible victims. Plantations are eating up the only remaining homes of the orangutans. According to the WWF, they could be wiped out within 20 years. So it seems the world's last remaining rainforests are paying the price for a more environmentally aware world. Divya Gopalan, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
The world has been slowly discovering the secrets of our planet, the beauty of nature, and the miracles of life. And while the world may know almost all the wonders of the earth, many may not be aware of the wonders of this gift from nature. This gift for life. Malaysia Palm Oil. Its trees give life and help our planet breathe. Its fruit provides vitamins for our bodies and energy for our daily lives. Malaysia Palm Oil, a gift from nature, a gift for life.
Malaysian oil palm cultivation rigorously follows good agricultural practices. Yet, there are some misconceptions about Malaysian palm oil. For example, Malaysian palm oil has not been sustainably produced, and that it cannot meet its ever-growing demand without endangering the environment, the rainforests, and the orangutan. These are just some of the wrong perceptions about Malaysian palm oil, because the truth is the exact opposite. Malaysian palm oil is sustainable, and it has been meeting the demands of billions of people around the world without endangering the environment, the rainforest, and the orangutan. Is this really possible? It's time to set the record straight. For nearly 100 years, the oil palm has been cultivated in Malaysia in a sustainable way using mainly land converted from the cultivation of rubber, cocoa, and coconut. Newer areas were subjected to stringent laws, including those that protect the environment. Although planted on only 1.84% of the world's total oilseed cultivated area, Malaysian oil palm supplies over 12% of the world's total vegetable oil output. It yields almost 10 times more oil than other oilseeds like soybean, sunflower, and rapeseed. This means that our plantations produce more edible oil while using less land. Each of our oil palm plantations is a planted forest. It is a large carbon sink planted on legitimately designated agricultural land, and every part of this perennial crop can be used. Malaysia grows some 600 million oil palm trees, covering 2/3 of Malaysia's legitimately designated agricultural land and creating a huge protective green canopy over the country. Tree crops and rainforests cover 20% and 60% of the country respectively, a ratio that has been and will be maintained, giving Malaysia a large green tree cover of 80%. In fact, our oil palm plantations absorb almost as much carbon dioxide as our rainforests do. And compared to soybean, oil palm absorbs 8 times more carbon dioxide and produces almost 10 times more oxygen. Through the years, scientific advancement has led to further improvements in good agricultural practices, leading to sustainable production of Malaysian palm oil. One such practice is zero burning, which is enforced by our country's laws. Another is the recycling of every part of our oil palm trees, including using it as organic fertilizer and fiber from its empty fruit bunches as mats to control soil erosion. Nothing goes to waste. One of our best agricultural practices is integrated pest management. Barn owls and snakes are used as natural, eco-friendly measures to control rodents, thus reducing the dependency on agrochemicals, which could burden the environment. An oil palm tree has a long economic and productive lifespan of up to 30 years. This long life cycle favors the growth of hundreds of species of flora and fauna, which are valuable parts of an oil palm plantation's rich ecosystem. The Malaysian palm oil industry has initiated the Malaysian Palm Oil Wildlife Conservation Fund for the preservation of biodiversity and the conservation and protection of precious wildlife such as the orangutan. The Malaysian palm oil industry also makes sure that it does not pollute the environment, not the air, nor the water that finally flows out from the affluent pond to the aquatic life downstream. These are just some of the many reasons why Malaysian palm oil is sustainable. Since its first planting almost 100 years ago, the Malaysian palm oil industry has always been about sustainability and its undying commitment to success, to the people and to the planet. It has and will continue to provide a better future for its people with employment, homes, schools and healthcare. It has and will continue to feed the world and contribute to Malaysia's progress. It has and will continue to be environment friendly, so that the constantly increasing population on this planet can truly enjoy the benefits of Malaysian palm oil. knowing it has been sustainably produced and will continue to be so in the future.
From the air, a glimpse of one of nature's great wildernesses, the virgin rainforest of Borneo, one of the most biodiverse on the planet, important to the indigenous population, essential to the Earth's ecosystem. It has stood for thousands of years. But it's being destroyed at a rate said to be unparalleled in human history. It's disappearing under a two-pronged onslaught from logging and the proliferation of palm oil plantations. This is Sarawak, Malaysian Borneo, the latest victim of the chainsaw and pursuit of profit.
Just 50 years ago, everything below me was all tropical rainforest, but in northern Borneo, estimated that less than 3% is remaining, but no one knows exactly for sure. Of that is remaining, that could all disappear within a few short years unless urgent action is taken.
There is still forest, 70% according to the Sarawak state government, though most is secondary and not all of it sustainable according to critics. The deforestation is damaging to the environment and destroying the habitat of indigenous tribes such as the Iban and Penan.
Here in Sarawak, more justice is given to the logging company to whip out all the forests where the Penan are living. Because of that, it is the people who survive in the forest are the ones that are being having a lot of problem.
Since 1950, Borneo as a whole has been losing forest at the rate of more than 1.2 million hectares per year. That's 12,000 square kilometers.
Money always wins, environment loser, and I think the planet cannot afford for the environment to lose out.
The governments of Brunei, Malaysia and Indonesia, which each have a share of Borneo, have agreed to protect roughly 220,000 square kilometres of forest, but it is self-policing with no independent supervision.
And if you talk about environmental laws here, they only exist on paper. You know? For instance, when you talk about logging, our law only requires that environmental impact assessment be done only in respect of re-logging. So for fresh cutting, it is not required to be done. You know?
Sarawak officials maintain that it has a series of checks and balances in place which is preventing further exploitation of virgin rainforests.
At the moment, only areas that has been cultivated has been done for shifting cultivation. Where my ministry come in, we will allow a plantation to come in. So we do not actually clear so-called pristine rainforest for plantation.
But on the roads of Sarawak, we saw hordes of logging trucks carrying large cut trees, which we were informed were from virgin rainforest, a fact confirmed by this man who said he was working for a large logging company. We have protected his identity.
Actually, they didn't cut just one type of wood. They cut all sorts of trees, including the virgin rainforest.
Logging companies deny that they are destroying rainforest or going beyond the remit of their government-issued concessions. And palm oil companies maintain they are contributing to the welfare of the country and dismiss criticism from environmentalists.
These people want rainforest to be preserved at all costs. And that is not possible because as a tropical country, the whole country is covered with rainforest potentially. So if you want a situation where 100% of our land is to conserve as forest, then where do we live? What do we do? How do we generate economic activity?
The burning question, though, is what can be done to save what remains of the virgin rainforest. And despite the campaigns, the summits, the good intentions and the promises, the rate of destruction is increasing, not decreasing. And time is running out. Tony Bertley, Al Jazeera, Sarawak, Northern Borneo. The death of a forest, the birth of big profits, dreaded by conservationists but cherished by boardrooms. Sarawak in Malaysian Borneo is the world's biggest exporter of tropical timber. It's an industry worth $2 billion a year, and according to some, profit has taken the place of protection as the rainforests have virtually disappeared. It's made fortunes for some and led to widespread allegations of corruption.
It is a public knowledge in Sarawak here that before one can get a timber concession or a parcel of land for oil palm plantation, money has to exchange hand, you know, the so-called under-table money.
Without transparency, it's difficult to know for sure. Sarawak doesn't reveal its financial dealings in the logging or palm oil industries, nor details of the concessions given or revenue generated. It all comes under the leadership of the state's powerful Chief Minister, Abdul Taib bin Mahmood.
It's the only one who gives licenses. Of course, the concessions are given to all these people who have some political connections and they are just a selected few who actually have all these timber licenses.
The state government here has been making money carving up Sarawak into lucrative logging concessions. They maintain, however, that most of this region, 70% of it, is still forested, and of that, most of it is primary rainforest. But according to conservationists, today in North Borneo, they say that less than 20% of virgin rainforest remains standing. Sarawak is largely left to manage its own affairs by federal government, providing 30 MPs who all support the government. They are known as its fixed deposit, the reason why it can consolidate power. But many have begun to question the role of the Chief Minister and his family businesses playing in the progress of Sarawak and exactly who is benefiting.
By right, Sarawak being a huge state and so rich in natural resources, oil and gas, timber, huge land, and with only a very tiny population, we should be enjoying one of the best standard of living in the world. You know? We are actually sleeping on gold, you know, in the state of Sarawak. But how come we, the natives, still suffer one of the highest rate of poverty in the country?
These people are the indigenous Iban, and they are poor. They can't buy support and are now locked in a fight for land they say is theirs, but which the government sold to a palm oil company. They don't have title deeds. They come from an era where land was designated by how far you could walk.
My grandfather before, he told my father, this is our land, this is the boundary, this is the other one people, this side is others,
They've been fighting in court for 12 years for the land and have been waiting for a verdict for the last 3. The Sarawak Chief Minister failed to respond to our request for an interview, but the state maintains land claims follow legal process. Big money earnings from timber are beginning to decrease as the forests disappear. Now the state government is looking to build 12 hydroelectric dams, destroying thousands of acres of forest land, even though the state already has an overcapacity of electricity.
The long-term impacts will be to the economy of the country and of course to the people of the country who will be burdened with all this debt in future.
For the Iban, the prospect of life without their land is a bleak one.
If we lose this is in court, it's better we die.
To companies, forests and land represent digits on a spreadsheet. To the tribes of Borneo, they represent life and a traditional past. Without their land, the future is far from certain. Tony Bertley, Al Jazeera, Sarawak, Northern Borneo. The footwear may be modern, but the Penan tribe has hunted this way for hundreds of years. Their weapon is still the blowpipe, handmade in the same way as their forefathers. Their hunting grounds are the lush forests of Sarawak, Malaysian Borneo. For generations they have grown no crops, but the forest provided them with food, medicine and shelter, the best that nature can provide.
When I was young, forest is our supermarket. We get what we need from the forest. You want fish, you go to the forest. You want meat, you go to the forest. But we realized that, I think people like me also realize that these good old days cannot go on forever. Changes will have to take place.
An admission by a state government that is denying the Penan rights to their land, which to reach takes a tough 10-hour drive over dirt track and 6 hours by canoe. It's remote, but all the tribe has ever known. But for how much longer? The man and machines of the outside world are coming closer as timber companies hunting for big profits swallow up the forests around Penan territory. This indigenous people is claiming an area of forest measuring just 20 by 30 kilometres. It's only in the last 40 years that they've erected permanent settlements. Before that, they were nomadic, which is why the Sarawak government says they're not entitled to claim and have sold the land concession to a big company.
We are the original people here, and we have rights. We are fighting for the rights of the new generation, and we need help from the outside world, because the government and the company don't care about us. We only want a small area of land.
For us, land is life. I can tell you the native of Sarawak will protect their land with their life.
So far, this peaceful people, which fought with the British against the Japanese in the Second World War, have managed to stop the advance of logging companies by forming human blockades. But the pressures and risks are growing. The Penan are a simple, unsophisticated people. Their world for hundreds of years has been the forest and only the forest. But they've been brought into an entirely different world now, one that involves big business, corruption, rape, murder, and a desperate fight for land they've always considered their own. From his youth, Kelesau Nan was an expert hunter and a fighter. It was he who organised resistance to the logging company, and his family believe he paid for it with his life. He disappeared on a lone hunting expedition. Mysteriously, his skeleton was found a few weeks later. One wrist had apparently been broken. No post-mortem examination was carried out, but after an investigation, police said there was no foul play. The family, however, believe a cover-up.
Don't know who is the person who killed my father, because it is not right to just go and kill people anyway.
Agents of logging companies came under suspicion by the Penan tribe, but there's no proof, and they deny any involvement.
Now the timber company are using thugs or gangsters to go to the village and threaten them. Even the timber companies threaten them that soldiers or police will come and arrest them if they cause problem to logging companies.
Some believe there is a campaign of intimidation against the Penang which has included rape and threats.
It's really very, very bad. We have heard that there are 15 of them, but of course the timber company is denying. But that is just a tip of the iceberg.
Since the 1960s, the Penang have embraced religion, learned to read and write, enjoy music and the benefits of electricity. But they have also learned about greed and cruelty and are watching helplessly as the rainforest around them is slowly destroyed. They accepted civilization but didn't know that one day it may ultimately cause their destruction too. Tony Bertley, Al Jazeera, Long Karong, Upper Baram, Sarawak.
Once cut off from the world, the people of Borneo's Penang tribe are on the front line of a battle against the government and timber companies. They are armed only with spears and bamboo barricades set up on tracks cut through the forest. No match for the might of the logging trucks or the big businesses that own them.
They have to stop this logging. If they don't, then oil palms and plantations will take over the forest. The government is also starting to build a gas pipeline which is cutting across the territory. The Penang will die a slow death if these things come. We won't have a place to live or any food left in the jungle.
Logging operations by 4 companies have ceased while local politicians try to negotiate with the Penang. But talks are at a standstill. The Penang want compensation for the loss of their ancestral land, protection against further encroachment, and access to healthcare and education.
Before this blockade, we written numerous letters to the government and went to the district office. We explained the plight of our people, and they sent us away with promises that they will do something, but they never do. So we've had to do this now because we can't wait anymore.
The Penang are up against logging giants like partially state-owned Pusaka KTS, which has seen revenues from timber exports top $2 billion. The cleared land is often sold to palm oil companies. Plantations prevent natural regrowth of deforested land, killing off indigenous plants and animals. Palm oil prices soared by 45% this year alone. According to Malaysia's central bank, in 2 years, exports more than doubled to a record $13 billion.
The Penang have set up blockades since the 1980s with little result, and now most of their land is gone. And with the current surge in logging and the growth of plantations, their situation has never been more desperate.
Deep in the rainforest, a handful of Penang are clinging to their nomadic way of life.
Our movement has been limited by the companies. If we want to go to an area where the companies are operating, sometimes the police will come and harass us. So it's difficult for us to maintain our lifestyle.
The timber companies and the government refused to give us an interview, but the government gave this statement to the local media.
We cannot force them to accept development. We can only plan it for them. If they do not want to be helped, then we cannot help them. They can only be as successful as the other communities if they change their mindset.
Many Penang are now on the brink of starvation. They receive little help from the government. They say encroaching development is forcing them to contend with the outside world.
I now want my children to go to school and have a good education, but we don't want to lose our traditions and our land. I want my son to have somewhere to come back to.
In the language of the nomadic Penang, there is no word for goodbye. But never have the Penang had such a need for it as now. Divya Gopalan, Al Jazeera, Sarawak, Malaysia.
Nang Buling is a man defying the authorities. He's out on bail and will soon be charged with criminal trespassing. But he's continuing to lead his people in protest.
We want our full rights. We want our compensation.
They're being asked to move because of this, the Murum Dam, a hydroelectricity project. 24,000 hectares of land will be flooded in less than a year. More than 1,300 people affected. villagers from 4 indigenous communities have been holding up construction of the dam since September by blocking the only road leading to it. The protest site is manned around the clock. Some of the protesters are from this village, Long Singu, and the people here say they've come under intense pressure to leave from politicians and government officials.
This isn't the first time the people of Long Singu are being asked to move. The first time was 6 years ago when they had to make way for a palm oil plantation. And this time they're being forced to relocate for the construction of a dam.
They've been offered compensation, including new land and $5,000 in cash. They say that's not enough.
It's hard for us to move to the new settlement area. There's not enough forest cover for us to hunt. It's surrounded by palm oil plantations, and it's far from the river.
Still, some communities have moved to the new settlements. There's water and electricity, but none of the promised amenities like schools and clinics.
It feels like life's got a little bit harder. The crops aren't ready, we can't find what we want in the jungle, so we have nothing to sell. We find we have to rely on money a lot more for our daily needs.
The state-owned Sarawak Energy, the company in charge of the dam, told Al Jazeera it's following international standards. The dam is one of 12 that the government deems necessary for the state's development. Environmentalists, however, say Sarawak has enough energy for the foreseeable future and argue that its biggest dam, Bakun, is not even running at full capacity. What the state may not have is enough land for its indigenous people to continue their way of life. Florence Louis, Al Jazeera, Balaga District, Sarawak.